The sound of the coffee grinder was the only thing I heard until it wasn't. Then came the crash. I was walking down the hallway, still half asleep, when I heard it. This low, muffled thud followed by glass shattering. I thought he'd just dropped a mug. But when I turned the corner into the kitchen, my dad was on the floor, face down, not moving. "Dad!" I ran barefoot across the tile, slipping slightly, kneeling beside him. His cheek was against the cold floor, his right arm still stretched out like he was reaching for the counter. The pot of coffee had shattered. Hot liquid was seeping into the grout. I touched his shoulder. "Dad, hey, talk to me." Nothing. He was breathing, but barely, shallow. His skin was clammy. His lips had a bluish tint. I scrambled for my phone, nearly dropped it, and dialed 911. Gave the address in one breath, begged them to hurry. When the paramedics rolled in, I was on the ground with him, holding his hand and trying not to lose it. They asked a bunch of questions, age, medications, any heart conditions. I could barely think straight. 79. No meds. He just got up to make coffee, that's all. They got him on the stretcher. His hand slipped out of mine. I grabbed it again as they wheeled him out the door. I didn't bother with shoes. I just jumped in the ambulance, still wearing gym shorts and a hoodie from the night before. My foot tapped the floor non-stop the entire ride. His hand felt cold in mine. I kept whispering, "You're all right, Dad. You're okay. Just hang on." At County General, they wheeled him straight through. I had to stop at the desk for paperwork, name, insurance, emergency contact. I signed 3 forms, barely reading them. Then my work phone buzzed, just once. I glanced at it. Termination notice, Eastbound Freight Systems. Sent, 6:47 a.m. Subject, failure to attend emergency video call. I blinked, thinking it was some kind of system error. Then I opened the internal dashboard. It was real, public dashboard update, visible to over 8,000 employees. My full name, title, and a single line. Terminated. Failure to attend 6:45 a.m. emergency operations briefing. 2 minutes. 2 damn minutes into my dad hitting the floor. And the signature? It wasn't from HR. It was Clint Yarrow himself. Quick note. Before we keep going, drop a comment. Where are you watching from right now? I just stood there, holding the pen, watching my career bleed out on a hospital screen. I wasn't even angry yet, just frozen. Then the nurse called my name, and I dropped the phone on the counter and ran. I followed the nurse through double doors, my feet sticking slightly to the linoleum from the coffee that had splashed down my legs. I didn't even realize I still had ground stuck to my ankle until we got to the waiting area, and she pointed toward the chairs. "They're working on stabilizing him. We'll update you soon." I sat down hard, elbows on my knees, phone still in my hand. The screen was lit up with Slack notifications. Team chat was buzzing, but I didn't open it. I tapped the termination notice again, like I hadn't already read it 10 times. Clint Yarrow, the same guy who once called me the mind behind our movement in front of 500 people at that gala in Cincinnati. The guy who grinned on stage with a bourbon in one hand and the other clapped on my back, telling everyone I'd saved the company during the flooding disaster in Texas. Now, I was a bullet point on a dashboard. I swiped up and opened my calendar. I stared at the time of that emergency meeting, 6:45 a.m. sharp on a Sunday morning. No prior notice, no context. Just a single line, executive routing compliance sync. It wasn't logistics. It wasn't urgent. It was a loyalty test. And I failed. I'd responded to hurricanes, power outages, cyber attacks. Once, I rerouted half the East Coast freight lines during a Category 4 while sitting in a damn hotel bathroom with the flu. Another time, I skipped my brother's funeral to handle a derailment in Kentucky because Clint said I was the only one who could hold the map. I missed Christmas 3 years in a row, my daughter's 5th grade play, my dad's 70th birthday. Every time Clint snapped his fingers on a weekend, I jumped. And now, the one time I didn't? This was the price. I opened the company's Slack, same platform I'd used to run a $2 million reroute during that Midwestern blizzard last January. I didn't type a paragraph. I didn't ask for pity, just one line. With my old man at County, log anything urgent, hit send, that was it. No drama, no fight, just the facts. And even that felt like too much. I scrolled the internal dashboard again. Only my name, not Jared from compliance, not Alicia from regional routing, not even Mike from central ops, who I know didn't log on until almost 7. Only me. That's when it hit me. This wasn't about who showed up. It was about who Clint wanted to make an example of. I dropped the phone into my hoodie pocket and leaned back in the chair, staring at the scuffed ceiling tiles. 16 years, and I didn't even get a phone call. I remembered Clint telling me once, "You can't build culture without a little blood in the water." I thought he was joking. Apparently not. A nurse walked by with a clipboard. I stood up too fast, but she shook her head gently. "Still stabilizing him." "Shouldn't be much longer." I nodded, sat again. My hands were shaking now, not from fear, from the buildup. From knowing I'd swallowed every ego trip Clint ever pulled. Every last-minute Friday night call. Every "you'll get comp time" promise that never came. And for what? A 2-minute video meeting that wasn't about routing at all. Just Clint looking for someone to crush in front of the company. I pulled my phone back out, just to keep my hands busy. They knew. They all knew what had happened. And what it meant. A resident came out. Finally, I stood. "He's stable." We're moving him to observation. I followed, silent. My dad's face looked pale but calm now. Oxygen tube in his nose, heart monitor beeping steady. He was still here. That's what mattered. As I sat next to his bed, watching the numbers tick steady on the screen, my phone buzzed again. Another Slack ping. But this time, it wasn't from my team. It was from someone I hadn't heard from in a long time. And that was when things started to shift. It was 9:15 a.m. I set the phone down on my lap. My dad shifted a little in the bed, let out a small breath. I leaned forward and held his hand again, jaw tight, swallowing rage like bile. Clint knew what he was doing. He wanted this public, loud. He wanted the message to echo. If I can take out Jack, no one's safe. My hands were cold. My mind felt hotter than my skin. I opened Slack again and clicked into my department channel, the one I used to coordinate natural disaster reroutes, driver emergencies, fuel chain failures, the one we built together. I typed another line, still short, still quiet. "Be where your name's needed most today." I hit send and closed the app. Didn't wait for replies. I just sat there, watching the monitor beep while my dad rested. Then one notification buzzed, then 3 more. I opened Slack again, just emojis, thumbs up, a few hearts, and then a couple quiet messages. "Understood. Copy that. Message received." That was it. No drama. Just calm solidarity, like a quiet shift change. I didn't know it then, but that line I typed, it was already spreading. My name wasn't even attached anymore, just the phrase. One of the junior dispatchers posted it in the ops thread. Then someone added it to a team status update. Someone else dropped it into a vendor chat. No tags, no explanations. Just a quiet little rebellion. I leaned back in the hospital chair, eyes on the monitor. My dad's heart rate was steady now. Lines were clean. No alarms going off. For the first time in hours, I let out a slow breath. I still wasn't okay. Not even close. But I wasn't alone either. Across hundreds of screens, without saying a word, people were taking sides. And Clint didn't even know it yet. I was still staring at the monitor when my phone buzzed again. Not Slack this time. A text. Trish Myers. "You sitting down? 13 gone. All using the same line. I resign. I won't endorse punishing lawful caregiving." I read it twice. 13. Trish used to lead West Coast Dispatch before she transferred to a consulting firm in Denver. She always had one ear to the ground. If she was saying it, it was real. I typed back, "All today?" Her response came fast. "Since 10 a.m., 5 in logistics, 4 regional leads, 2 vendor liaisons, 1 from finance, and, wait, make that 14. My hands went still. The hospital chair felt smaller. I looked over at my dad, still asleep, oxygen tube in place, chest rising slow but steady. I sat there, phone in hand, heartbeat thudding against my ribs. Another message popped up, this time from someone I hadn't heard from since 2019. Derek Farrow. Just walked, used the same line. "It's not just sympathy, Jack, it's conscience." Derek Farrow, hardliner. The guy who once told a driver he'd fire his own cousin mid-route if it kept freight on time. I didn't even know the man had a conscience. I opened the company internal chat out of instinct. Channels were lit up, not loud, just stunned. No one yelling, no one posting memes or GIFs. It wasn't a circus, it was reverent, like people knew something had cracked, and they were just watching it happen. The phrases were everywhere. Punishing lawful caregiving. We won't endorse it. This isn't leadership, it's fear. One comment hit harder than the rest. It was from someone in training, anonymous avatar. Lucius didn't win our loyalty. He just counted on silence. Lucius was Clint's middle name, the one he used for corporate branding. Lucius Yarrow, CEO of Movement Logistics and Strategy. Like he was running an army. He wasn't winning anymore. He was lighting fires he couldn't put out. Still, I didn't say anything. I kept my head down, phone in hand, staring at the quiet revolt. My stomach twisted with something halfway between guilt and awe. These people were walking away from paychecks, from security. No plan, no coordination, just instinct. Because something felt wrong, and for once they didn't ignore it. I looked at my dad again. This man who raised me to show up, do the work, take care of your own. I'd sacrificed years trying to live that ethic inside a company that didn't believe in it. Now they were using words like abandonment and gross neglect. Because I chose family over a Zoom call, that guilt started turning into something else, something hotter, heavier. I checked Slack again. My team channel hadn't moved much, but I saw one new reply under my last message. Thanks for showing us where to stand. I didn't reply. I couldn't. The nurse came in to check vitals. She looked at me, then at my dad, then back to me. You all right, hun? Yeah, I said, not meaning it. Just catching up. She nodded like she knew what that meant. Probably didn't. Still nodded anyway. When she left, I sat back down and opened the master directory on my phone, the full organization chart. I scrolled slowly, watching names start to gray out. Resigned, inactive, position vacated. It wasn't just a protest. It was a slow bleed, unscripted, uncoordinated. I wanted to believe it would hold, but I knew how these things worked. Clint would throw money, title bumps, threats, fear. He'd fight dirty, and people had mortgages, kids, sick parents, reasons to stay. So I stayed quiet. I didn't stir the pot. I didn't post. I didn't call anyone, because deep down, I wasn't sure if any of it would last. I was still watching names drop off the org chart when my phone buzzed again. Internal alert. Live now, company leadership update, Clint Yarrow, 3:30 p.m. Portal link, join live. I tapped it. Didn't even think. The screen loaded, and there he was. Clint, in some high-end conference room, with the company seal behind him, and a smug little grin already on his face. Navy suit, no tie, gold watch flashing every time he moved his hands. Afternoon, Eastbound, he said, like it was a damn podcast intro. I wanted to speak directly to the company about recent changes in leadership realignments. Realignments. There it was again. He kept his voice calm, almost cheerful. Didn't mention names, didn't say jack, just transitions, leadership strategy, long-term performance goals, corporate nothing speak. Then he smiled wider and leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table. I understand some folks are emotional. That's okay. Change stirs things up. But I want to be clear. What we're seeing today is a cleansing of soft spots. This company moves freight, not feelings. I blinked. Did he just say cleansing of soft spots? I glanced at my dad, still asleep, still breathing steady. I looked back at Clint, my teeth clenching. Then came the line. He leaned back in the chair, gave this half laugh like he'd already won the day, and said it casually, like a punchline. Family excuses don't keep freight moving. That was it. He moved on after that, talking about restructuring and resilience and leadership modeling. I didn't hear the rest. Nobody did. Within 10 minutes, that one sentence was clipped and screen recorded, bouncing across chat threads like a grenade. Family excuses don't keep freight moving. Someone added it to the company meme channel with Clint's face photoshopped onto a robot. Another just posted the words on a black screen with white text. One guy in vendor ops added dramatic violin music to the clip and uploaded it to an internal folder marked motivational speeches. Then the chats exploded. You serious? He really said that out loud? Oh, it's war now. People who hadn't said a word all day were now posting screenshots, reaction gifs, resignation letters. Someone from driver relations tagged 6 resignations in a row under the phrase family excuses, just to make a point. I stayed silent. Didn't post, didn't join in. I just sat there, feeling this slow, creeping heat crawl up my chest. It wasn't just bitterness now. It was something sharper. Sharper because I knew what Clint had just done. He'd pulled the curtain all the way back. All that culture talk, the motivational speeches, the big banners about integrity and family, it all cracked in two the second he said those words. You don't come back from that. I refreshed the team's Slack. One of the night shift guys had pinned the quote I'd sent earlier. Be where your name's needed most today. Under it, someone replied, family excuses do keep people alive. I didn't type anything. I just watched. By 4:15, the clip had leaked outside the firewall. Someone, no idea who, forwarded it to a regional news outlet. 10 minutes later, it hit a supply chain blog, then Reddit, then LinkedIn. The floodgates were open. It didn't even need context. No backstory. Just a CEO in a suit, laughing as he said the quiet part out loud. By 5, every chat I opened was full of disbelief. No one cared about logistics anymore. They were talking about values, about what kind of company they actually worked for. Someone from billing posted a photo of their kid next to an oxygen tank and just wrote, "Tell me again about family excuses, Clint." I look back at my dad, still there, still breathing. I didn't feel vindicated, not exactly. It felt like watching a building catch fire from the sidewalk. You're glad you got out, but you're still breathing in the smoke. And the guy holding the match, still on camera, still smiling. For now, my phone buzzed again. Slack message. Not from my team this time. This one came from an old private channel I hadn't touched in years. Raj Patel, Legal Ops. Can you still see internal files? I blinked. That was all he wrote. I replied, yeah. Read-only access. Why? No answer for a couple minutes. I watched the 3 little dots blink, stop, blink again. Then the reply came in pieces. I pulled the meeting record Clint used to justify your termination. There's only one signature, Tyler Yarrow. I sat up straighter in the chair. Wait, Tyler? As in Clint's nephew? Yup. Summer intern. No clearance, no senior rank. Not even full-time. I didn't respond right away. My fingers were tight around the phone. The hell was Tyler doing signing termination authorizations? Rage kept going. No drama, just bullet points. Company policy requires 2 executive officers for terminations above level 3. Director is level 6. Tyler is legally nothing. My chest tightened. Not with panic, with pressure. Like something I'd been holding down was finally pushing back up. I typed, "So it's invalid?" That's not the worst part. He sent a video file next, labeled /recordings/temp/Tyler_temp_cam_09_14. I hesitated for a second, then tapped it open. The camera was pointed at a desk in the corner of what looked like a glass office. Tyler was there, leaning forward, looking nervous. You could see his hands twitching. Off camera, Clint's voice came through clear. "Did you just sign it? Doesn't matter." "It's for optics." Tyler asked something I couldn't hear. Clint again. "He missed the meeting. We send a message. Policy's a formality. Just put your name and timestamp it." That was it. Less than 30 seconds. Then the screen went black. I sat there, watching my own face reflected in the phone screen. I didn't feel anything yet. Just cold. The next message from Raj was short. "I've already sent it to the board. Full report. Timeline. Violation flags. No language. Just facts. They're stunned. Termination wasn't just unethical. It's legally invalid." I leaned back against the wall and let the phone rest on my knee. I could hear the ventilator in the room behind me clicking every few seconds. My dad was still asleep, still hanging on. I wanted to feel victory. I didn't. Raj sent one more message. "No need to respond. I know this sucks. Just wanted you to hear it from someone who still gives a damn." I stared at that line for a long time. Not because it shocked me, but because it didn't. That's how low the bar was now. Someone who gives a damn felt like a lifeline. I clicked the video again, just once, played the part with Clint's voice. I memorized how casual it sounded, how clean. He didn't flinch, didn't hesitate, just pushed his nephew to sign off on something he knew broke policy, broke law, broke basic decency. For optics. I closed the file. I didn't forward it. I didn't drop it into Slack or blast it to the org. Raj already did his job, and he did it cleaner than I ever could have. Now the board had it. Now they knew. Clint hadn't just made a cruel call. He'd committed fraud to do it. And whether they wanted to admit it or not, they were sitting on a live wire. I didn't move from that hallway chair for a long time. Just sat there with the video file still on my phone, my dad still unconscious, the world outside boiling and twitching while the board stayed quiet. Too quiet. By early evening, word came through a back channel. Someone I trusted from finance who still owed me a favor. Board has the report. Not acting. Not yet. Why? I typed. Investor exposure, brand risk. They're scared to pull the trigger. Of course they were. They had a smoking gun in their hands, and instead of using it, they were worried about shaking the stock line a few inches. I turned off my phone for a while, just stared at the tile floor. I could hear my father's heart monitor clicking steady through the half-open door. The scent of disinfectant burned the edges of my nose. Everything felt tight, flat, distant. They were waiting for it to blow over. They thought staying silent would protect the brand. I turned the phone back on. No Slack messages from leadership, no emails, no HR updates. But my team channel was still pulsing. Quiet check-ins, mutual support. Someone had posted a photo of break room coffee with a sticky note on the machine. Be where your name's needed most today. I opened a blank message window. No typing for a while. Then my fingers moved. I observed posted policy. I don't observe surprise. Sundays I hit send. Didn't add anything. Didn't tag anyone. Just closed the app and let it go. It spread fast. Within 20 minutes, screenshots started popping up. The quote on team status pages, chat threads, an office whiteboard in Boise, even someone's email auto-signature. Then the image that made me sit upright. A matte black coffee mug printed with the phrase in white block letters. That was fast. By the time the board even thought about what to do, it was already out of their hands. What started as a quiet statement turned into a symbol. Not angry, not explosive, just unshakable. Then came the investor email. My same contact forwarded it with no subject line, just the raw screenshot from inside the board's inbox. From Vanguard Holdings Strategy Unit. 2. Eastbound Board Communications. Subject: Operational Oversight and Leadership Ethics. Message: We back leaders who respect posted policy. Our investment follows principles, not personalities. That wasn't a threat. That was corporate speak, for we're watching you, and you're already late. Whatever Clint had been trying to build, this empire of fear, of flexing muscle through surprise mandates, was cracking from the inside out. And he didn't even know it yet. He still thought silence meant surrender. But this wasn't silence. This was restraint. And restraint, when used right, can cut sharper than outrage. At 7:58 p.m., my phone lit up with a meeting link, forwarded through one of the old executive group threads I was still ghosted into. Subject: Emergency Leadership Session. Immediate attendance required. Clint was pulling the fire alarm. I opened the link without thinking. Didn't join, just watched from the sidelines, no camera, no mic. I wanted to see it burn from the front row. He was already mid-rant. Clint Yarrow, red in the face, sleeves rolled up, pacing behind a long wood-paneled table, like he thought motion would make him look in control. "Where is everyone?" he barked. "I need quorum. We need signatures. We need decisions tonight." Only 6 names showed up in the top row. 12 were required to call action. Half the seats were empty, most of them recently vacated by resignation. Nobody said a word. "Operations are stalling," Clint snapped. "I've got vendors demanding answers. Freight stuck in Arizona, unstaffed facilities in Tulsa. This is insubordination." Insubordination. His voice cracked on that last word. I watched as one of the board members, Sheila Tran, normally a total corporate loyalist, muted her mic and leaned back in her chair like she wanted no part of what was unfolding. A younger board rep tried to speak. "Clint, maybe we should..." "We should what?" Clint cut him off. Cave to Slack emojis and viral quotes. I've run this company through floods, droughts, trade freezes. We don't bend because a few fragile minds walked out. Then it happened. A new tile blinked on in the corner. Audio only. Hi, this is Jennifer Price from Industrial Journal. Looks like someone left the call open. Mind if I ask a question? Silence. Everyone froze. Clint squinted at the screen. Excuse me, who authorized? But she kept going. Mr. Yarrow, how do you justify firing a longtime executive during a family medical emergency on a Sunday morning with no warning and no HR review? You could actually hear the shift, that deep, awkward inhale from everyone on the call. Clint blinked fast. This wasn't personal. It was operational discipline. The call was clear. Jennifer didn't stop. Even though policy requires 2 senior officer sign-offs, and the only name on the document was your 24-year-old nephew, who, according to internal footage, was instructed to sign for optics. Dead silence. Clint's neck flushed crimson. He stammered. That file was internal. That's being reviewed. There was context. Jennifer stayed calm. Would you say family excuses don't keep freight moving reflects Eastbound Freight's official position on medical leave? One of the board members reached to disable the patch, but it was too late. Someone had recorded it. At 9:03 p.m., a clip hit social media with the title, "Family Excuses Don't Run Freight. CEO Under Fire." Under it, leaked audio from Eastbound Freight's internal board. Call. Sparks outrage. It was Clint's voice. The rant, the panic, the journalist's questions, the stammering, all of it. The internet didn't need backstory, just tone. By 9:10, hashtags were trending. #, family excuses, matter, #, optics over, people #, surprise Sundays. Inside the company, chat channels exploded. One regional manager posted a photo of an empty freight dock with the caption, "Still think family's the weak link." Another tagged the HR thread. "When's the next surprise Sunday?" Asking for every parent on payroll I didn't post. Didn't reply. I just sat there in that same hospital chair, watching Clint Yarrow choke on the culture he'd weaponized for years. He wasn't just losing control. He was watching the foundation crack beneath his feet. At 9:20 p.m., my phone buzzed again. Not Slack, not email, text, unknown number. "It's Tyler. I'm sorry. I didn't know what I was doing. Here's the full video." The link came right after. No explanation, just a direct file drop. I stared at it for a second. Didn't open it. I already knew what it was, the rest of the footage. The part that wasn't clipped, trimmed, filtered. The real thing. Clint in that glass office, pacing with his sleeves rolled up, telling his own nephew how to fake a record. I tapped it. This time the audio was clearer. You could hear Clint's tone shift halfway through, from cold and casual to forceful. "No, Tyler, just log it as reviewed. Doesn't matter if no one else was there. I've signed solo before. It's optics." Then silence. Then Clint again. "Jack missed it. That's enough. The rest is for show." The file ended. I didn't forward it. Didn't need to. Legal already had it. Rage had been 10 steps ahead from the beginning. I just locked my screen and slipped the phone into my pocket. Then I looked up and saw my dad standing in the doorway, wrapped in a discharge blanket, hair still messy from the hospital pillow. The nurse was helping him out, holding the IV pole like a leash. "You sure you're good to go?" I asked. He gave me a weak grin. "They said I can walk. Figured I'd rather do it out of here." I walked over, wrapped my arm around his back. He leaned into me, just enough for balance. We made it out of the hospital under a clear, cold moon, the kind of quiet that felt earned. No sirens, no phones ringing. Just the two of us, shuffling across the parking lot like nothing outside of that moment mattered. My phone buzzed again in my pocket, then again, and again. I didn't check it. He got into the passenger seat slow, groaning a little, pulling the seatbelt with both hands like it weighed more than usual. I climbed in, started the car, didn't turn on the radio. Halfway down the ramp, I finally looked at my phone. 6 unread messages, 3 voicemails, 4 LinkedIn DMs. Heard what happened. "I'm building a new logistics unit. Let's talk." "Jack, whatever you're thinking, name your terms." "Eastbound doesn't deserve what you built." Come build it here whenever you're ready. They weren't even fishing. They knew. I didn't reply to any of them. Just dropped the phone into the center console and kept driving. No timeline, no plan, no return fire. I'd spent years chasing deadlines, putting out fires, answering calls before they even finished ringing. But tonight, I just drove. My dad leaned his head against the window, half dozing. His chest moved slow and steady. I kept one hand on the wheel, the other resting near the emergency brake, just in case. The road home was quiet. No freight, no flashing alerts. Just the sound of tires on asphalt, and for once, no part of me needed to be somewhere else. No reroutes, no approvals, no urgent Sunday syncs. Just us. We pulled into the driveway just after 10. I helped my dad out of the car slow, one arm under his, the other gripping the door frame. The porch light buzzed above us. Familiar, quiet. Inside, I got him settled on the couch with a blanket and a glass of water. He was asleep again before I made it to the kitchen. I turned on the kettle, stood barefoot on the tile, watching the steam curl. The house smelled like dust and coffee grounds. No chaos, no alarms, just stillness. My laptop was still open on the counter. I tapped the trackpad and woke it up. One new email. Subject: Leadership Transition. Notice from Eastbound Freight Communications. I clicked, just 3 lines. Effective immediately, Clint Yarrow is suspended pending internal investigation. Further updates to follow. No public comment at this time. That was it. No apology, no spin, no damage control, not even his full name in bold. It didn't feel like a win. It felt like a closing door. I poured coffee into the same chipped mug I'd been using for 10 years, then leaned back against the counter and scrolled through the last messages from my team. One caught my eye. It was a photo of a whiteboard. Looked like it was taken inside the Chicago office. In thick blue marker, someone had written, "Tomorrow, we build routes that make room for Sundays." My words. I didn't even remember saying them out loud, but someone had written them down. And now, they were written on walls. I set the mug down and let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding for 2 days straight. Not from pride, not from revenge, just peace. I didn't beg to keep my job. I didn't shout on social or post some open letter. I didn't take it to court. I chose the hospital. I chose my father's hand over a camera and a call. And somehow, that choice said more than anything I could have planned. I closed the laptop. The screen faded to black. In the other room, my dad shifted under the blanket, letting out a soft exhale. I walked over, turned off the light above him, and watched the shadows settle around the room. Sometimes, keeping your seat beside the people who raised you is the loudest form of protest. That night, I finally slept.